Welcome back to Beyond Belief. I'm your host, Tyler Redman, and I have to apologize in advance. Today I'm really on one. So let's roll that intro screen. Oh my gosh, guys, I am so excited to be back here today. Man, I am just coming off of my staycation, and what a time it was. I didn't do a whole lot, but what I was able to do is go ahead and be refreshed, and I just feel like a whole new person, and it was so enjoyable. Work is less of a burden, at least right now. I just went back today, actually, the day of filming this. It was my first day back. It was great. It doesn't feel like a burden. But that's not what we're talking about here today, guys. First off, as I mentioned in the intro, I want to apologize beforehand. I can tell I'm already on one. And yeah, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. I Let me also apologize in advance. I have some lemon water here. It was supposed to be tea with honey and a Ricola. I don't know if you can tell through the mic today. I'm very congested. A Ricola and green tea and honey, that's my little secret. Normally it helps clear everything up. Uh, I went to make it and had no tea bags and then realized I had no sugar. So it's literally hot lemon water, a Ricola, and a packet of Splenda. Is it good? It tastes probably about like you think it does. Is it gonna help? Maybe. If not, it is what it is. But today, guys, I want to talk to the select few of you, and you're probably not even a fan of the Beyond Belief podcast. And honestly, if you were thinking about being a fan of the Beyond Belief podcast, it might be best for the both of us if you're not. In fact, you don't even share. I know this isn't how people do YouTube or social media. It's typically like, comment, and subscribe. But if you're one of the people I'm talking about today, don't do that. And if you can remove your view, I'm actually okay with that. Okay? Because what we're talking about today are spineless cowards. And I cannot stand you. You are on my radar. So let me give you some backstory. At my job, there used to be a former employee of who I was friends with. Now, this individual is a very charismatic individual. They were always in the know, and part of their job was to be in the know. However, could they be a troublemaker or a pot stir? Most definitely a pot stir. But at the end of the day, they just did their job and went about their days. They recently, and by recently, probably over a month ago, resigned. They're moving to a different city. Good for them. Love that. However, on my first day off, my little staycation, I get this text of an email that was sent to certain individuals throughout my company, all from this individual complaining and breaking down. When the higher ups say this, it means this, even though we're doing this and we're doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And I just can't stand for blah, blah, blah to go on. I'm always going to speak up for what I believe, and blah, 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 blah. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, Tyler, that almost sounds like it's reasonable. And you know what? Maybe it is. Maybe it is reasonable to you. But here's where my complaint, here's where my problem really starts coming in from it. I am so sick and tired of people who have an opinion in a workplace or an environment or a group or a club or whatever it is. I'm so sick and tired of the people who are even in positions to make change that will even complain in the middle of it when they're in that position, but they don't actually want to speak out and make it a big deal. until there's no longer going to be any effect for them coming out. There's no longer going to be an effect or even a push for change because the person calling for the change isn't a part of the organization anymore. If you have a problem in the workplace, if you have a problem in your friends group or your club, or it doesn't matter the organization, why are you not speaking up when you're a part of that organization, that group, to make the change happen? Why are you waiting until your opinion doesn't even matter? Because it's not a humanitarian thing anymore. No, what it is you no longer have the attention at your new workplace with your new friends group or your new whatever. You no longer have the appeal or the power or whatever it is that you thought you had, and so now you got to go bringing up trauma at a previous place to try to stir the pot. And then you're going to go on LinkedIn and post about it and be like, I'm the talk of the town. Blah, 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 blah. No, you're not. You're insignificant. As soon as you left, you became insignificant. It's so funny. There's a radio ad that happens on one of the local radio stations here, and I think it's like a dealership, and it's like certain quotes that my grandpa taught me, and one of the ones that always catches me is and hopefully I don't butcher it, but it's, we all have the ability to light up the room. Some when we enter and some when we exit. And you know what? I am starting to really realize these spineless people that only want to bring things up after the fact, that only want to bring things up when there's no longer an impact for them, there's no longer a risk for them, they are the ones that it shines when they exit the room. It's very equivalent to a snake in the garden, right? It, while the garden can look great and it can be beautiful, when there's a snake in the garden, you know something's not right. There's a stirring, there's a trouble. But as soon as the snake is gone, the garden's right back to bloom, right back to bloom. So this is a call for all of you who are spineless. I don't care. Complain to yourself or stop complaining at all. If you're going to complain about a group, an organization, a company, whatever it is, do it while there's actually risk and you have the ability to make change. Don't run away and decide to make a scene to call attention to yourself. I understand that's the way as society we want to work now, especially in a woe is me era, in a very victimhood mentality where we're always the victim. I understand that's how we want to do things, but I no longer have respect for people like this. And not only do I not have respect, I don't have tolerance. So if this is the type of person you are, I don't want you in my circle. I don't want you in my friends' circles. I don't want you in my family circles. I don't want you in my groups. I don't want you in my companies. Have a backbone, have integrity, have anything. But stop this woe is me, call attention to me nonsense of blah. Like, if you're not adding to the conversation, then remove yourself and stay removed. Because jumping back into the conversation with your nonsense isn't adding anything. It's still just you calling attention to you. And if you need that, jump on TikTok, jump on Twitter, jump on YouTube, go there. The sad part is people like these truly are a disservice to actual whistleblowers in an organization. Actual people who take a risk, whether it's in the government or in a corporate sphere, who will take a risk and expose what needs to be exposed, even though there can be retaliation. Even though obviously retaliation is against the law, we all know it happens, but grow a spine and be able to deal with that. Maybe that's too much to ask. Maybe I'm asking too much for society today. Maybe I'm being unrealistic. Or maybe we've just become too weak. Maybe we've just become too weak. It makes me think of American exceptionalism. In my college experience, it was a very common theme to talk about the American dream, especially dealing with political science. What is the American dream? Does the American dream still exist? Um, and really, I think, for better or worse, what even just 5, 6 years ago we were seeing is this new outlook on the American dream and American exceptionalism, and the fact that it's dying. And you have to wonder, is this dying because of just society and we've allowed all these atrocities into our everyday life and our social norms are absolutely obtuse, and there's so much nonsense and cluttering of the mind, and everything's so mixed up, and we no longer have real values? Is it that, or where did we go wrong? Was it when we looked to the left, when we looked to the right? Was it the Republican? Was it the Democrat? Was it well, there's no one in between anymore. So maybe it's that. But I think it all comes wrapped back into these individuals running our society without a spine. And while I'm so angry and upset with this person just in a corporate setting, eh, look at Washington. 90% of your congressmen don't have a spine. How do I know this? Perfect. It's super easy. How many of them have made promises that they can't pull through? Now, look, okay, I hear you now. I hear you now. I love my congressman. Blah, 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 blah. Maybe they are fulfilling some promises, but I guarantee they're not executing on the level they promised. And some of that is because we've allowed ourselves to become fools to the operation of governance. Okay, our congressmen are promising they'll do A, B, and C. When you look in the scope of all things, they're actually only even able to do C, and instead they're gonna just give us speeches and books and everything else on A and B, things that they can't ever do, and even if they did do, would immediately be reversed. Because the thing that someone without a spine loved the most is to be in a position of power, to be in a position to make change and then do nothing. And then do nothing. If anything, they get into a position of power and then get manipulated by someone who actually holds some form of fear or authority over them. And you know what? I didn't have anything in the Bible to relate to this rant today at first, but who in the Bible can you think of that had no spine and someone with actual fear had an authority over them? Anyone ringing any bells? Maybe any Jezebels or oh, you mean like King Ahab? You could say he had no spine, and because he had no spine, Jezebel and this false religion and this false god was able to grow rampant. And what happens when these spineless individuals have let this other being take control? What occurs in that? Chaos. and drought. And the only individuals that are actually looking to make change, the only individuals that are even capable of making change, the only ones with spines are the ones that are spat on because they're not the loudest voice. Because the reality isn't always sunshine and rainbows. But what do I know? I'm just 28 and ranting on a podcast. I only have 20 subscribers. But it's not hard to use my eyes. It's not hard to see. It's not hard to see reality. I mean, look at the very device you're on right now. Almost everything you touch, every app on your phone, on your computer, everything has some algorithm that is all linking to one another and feeding you exactly what you want at any time, any need. You wonder why our mental health crisis is so high now at a time like we've never seen. We wonder why we have these rates of children suicide. And yet we put them on these devices that they can't handle, that is constantly feeding into them and whatever thing they might have even searched by accident. You wonder why conspiracy theories run rampant across the internet. Well, it's because once I look at flat earth once and then I look at it twice and I'm like, even if I'm making fun of it, all of a sudden all my feed is just about flat earth or the JFK files or who's on the Epstein list. As soon as you look once, you get a second video, and if you like the second video, next you get five more. And everyone's just constantly running in this circle over and over and over and over, and they wonder why they can't get out, and it's because they're stuck and they're glued to their devices. And I don't even know how we got here from my rant, but here we are. But how come these conversations aren't happening in the mainstream, even in the non-mainstream media? This isn't common. I mean, I sometimes I truly just don't even know what to think anymore. I have to wonder, when does it change? Who steps into the gap? Who jumps in? Who pushes for the new? Or are we going to keep repeating this cycle? That's what cycles do. They repeat until something changes. You have to change something in the cycle for the cycle to stop repeating itself. And in this current time, not only do we live in a cycle, I think we live in a cycle with cycles within it. So you can't just break the individual cycle you're a part of. Once you break that cycle, you have to break the larger cycle altogether. And how do you do that? I don't have an answer for you. You don't have an answer for me. But change doesn't happen in the way we are going about it. I look across the internet, across all social platforms, and it's so easy to see so much hate. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter if you look to the left. It doesn't matter if you look to the right. There's so much hate. And the sad part of it all is you see it constantly where it's being fought back with more hate. And how are you ever going to grow if you're just growing a society of people who just hate one another? Where do you go from that? It's like two wrongs don't make a right. It's something on a basic childhood level that we should have figured out, and yet, for whatever reason, somewhere along the lines, we decided no, two wrongs make two rights. Where's our compassion? I uh I heard on a video recently that was talking about leadership. I don't know about you, but personally, I'm all about developing as a leader. So I'm reading lots of leadership material and watching leadership videos personally, just for my own growth. And one of the things they talked about is the difference between empathy and compassion. And typically, the leaders that focus so heavily on empathy and I feel for you and empathizing is they are not able to be effective because while being empathetic and feeling for them and uh, that's great, it's going to limit, whereas when you're a compassionate leader you understand that sometimes the decisions you make are going to have an effect, and you know that you want to do the best you can for individuals that are going to be affected, and you have that compassion for them, but you're still going to make the choices you need to move forward. And I think somewhere in our society we're going to have to stop being empathetic and start being compassionate. But that is just another episode of Beyond Belief. Guys, I know this is not like a normal episode, and uh I hopefully there's not a lot of breaks. I don't have a lot of time to edit. So unless I was quiet for 5 minutes straight, you're getting almost a raw, uncut episode. Um before I let you go, guys, I do want to let you know rather, I am going to be doing a special live stream with a friend on Thursday. Now, this is already going to have happened by the time you hear this episode. We're going to be reviewing the Seven Brew Fall Drinks. I'll be sharing it on my social media. Make sure to check that out. I know it's going to be a fun time. Uh, Hopefully, you can laugh because I don't think there's going to be any laughs for this episode. Other than that, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Unless you have a no spine. I told you, if you don't have a spine, I don't want you around here. As for the rest of it, make sure you follow me on all platforms. Our podcast, and by ours, I mean my podcast, is on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I have a TikTok now. Everything else, you have a good one.